Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Especialmente Normal, International Edition. I am Madalena and we have here Filipa Ferreira and also Telma Santos, and our fantastic guest of today is Hanna. Hello and welcome.
Hi. Thank
Hi, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So we will start with a small introduction. Hanna is from Minsk Mazowiecki in Poland, and she's a freelancer travel blogger. She's funny and witty, and despite the pressures to settle down and conform with more traditional roles, she has never given up on her dreams. She was our mentor when we lived in Poland, and she always made the parties at our house very interesting. She's been traveling all over the world, volunteering, working in exchange of accommodation, and she's here to tell us all about it.
Wow, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Thank you. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I came back to Poland in June last year when pandemic started, but I'm living now in Poznań, so Western Poland, and yeah, but I hope to travel again soon.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
So you started by studying law, but then you end up realizing that that was not your path.
Yeah.
What led you to choose law in the first place?
I think my mother.
Okay.
Because you know what, it was like that look, when you're finishing school and you are 19, you basically have no idea what you want to do in your life.
Yeah.
So of course it's not that I blame my parents, but it's more that they wanted to make me feel comfortable in my life and avoid all the mistakes, and just, keep me under the umbrella or something without any problems. Yeah. So they said, like, come on, study law because you are so talkative and you can, protect your ideas and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, but I want to study tourism or psychology. And they said, like, but what are you going to do after that? And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, the life should be this way, that you go to the university and then you find a job and then you have a family and then everything is happy and yeah. And then after 5 years, I was like, that's bullshit.
Okay.
It's like, why did I do that? But I know now that time I was just not assertive enough yet. So after 5 years, I left law, but I didn't like. Studying law is like 5 years in Poland, but I didn't get to the 5th year because I was stuck in 3rd year with my points. So I'm like, what am I doing with my life? And I started studying tourism just because I wanted to finish a degree and just have documents that I have higher education just in case I need it in my life later. And I never told my parents until I got the diploma at the 3rd year. So I was studying 8 years and my parents were like, how's your studies? And I was like, okay, that's okay. I don't want to talk about it because I hate it. And that's it. But yeah, I studied, I finished it, never again.
Yeah, I remember when we were there, I think you were already studying tourism, but your parents still thought that you were studying law.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah. So you finished with the tourism degree?
I did finish with a tourism degree, with a bachelor degree. But that's completely enough for me because now later I realized that there are some fields in life that you don't need studies for. And if you are like entrepreneurial enough and you have ideas and you have this discipline to make stuff and work at home or wherever you want, you don't need studies to do that. Of course, you need studies if you want to be a lawyer or if you want to be a doctor, right? There are fields that you need studies and the degree in this field, but that was not mine.
Well, but you made up your mind and now you're happy and in an area that you like. And you have also a travel blog that I'm not trying to say the name. I have here, but I can't.
In English, it's called Backpack and Suitcase.
Okay. Yeah. And in Polish?
In Polish, plecak i walizka.
it's very funny, but I can't say it.
Yeah.
So when did you start this blog, and why did you decided to create this
Well,
blog?
I
Was
started.
during the law degree?
No, you know what? I think I just knew that it's gonna end up with tourism and traveling. But I started over 10 years ago because it was 1st of November 2010 when I started my blog. So this November, like last November, it was 10 years anniversary, right? I mean, like I'm a dinosaur in blogging world. No, over 10 years, you are already a fossil. Sorry. And that's true. But yeah, I just wanted to, to write about the world and tell people about the world. And that was my idea. And after 5 years, I kind of switched from telling only about my travels to more like describing the ideas how to travel and what to see in different places, and just giving, because the idea of using internet changed, because 10 years ago the traveling was not that common like now, or like maybe not now, but like a year ago, for example. And the people were just reading those stories because for them it was inspiring that someone is so brave and go hitchhiking or sleeping in a tent in the wild or whatever. And I was like, and then the people started travel more, and then started to use internet to look for the information. So I started to provide this information for them to make it easier to organize all the trip. And after 2 years, so when I was already traveling in Asia, I went there with one-way ticket in 2016. Some people asked me to prepare for them itinerary for Sri Lanka, because I was already 5 times in Sri Lanka at that time. I was going there as a tour leader and on my private tours, and people wanted me to prepare them the itinerary, and I did it twice, and then I realized that it's my time and I don't want to do it for free, but I was thinking that nobody will pay for that. So I just put a random offer on my blog, and there was a price that I prepare itineraries for like 50 euros or something, and people started to pay, and I was like, why are they paying? I just put it so they can give me my free time and they don't bother me, but they want to pay me. So okay. And after 2016, I was like all the time rising my prices, and at some point I realized that all those itineraries that I'm preparing is like 90% the same. So I gathered all those questions that last 3 years I was collecting from my blog and from those itineraries, and I had like 150 questions, because the more of them were like repeating itself. So I just crossed it out, and then I just wrote a guidebook basing on those questions. And I said, like, but will people still buy my itineraries if they can buy this cheap guidebook? Because from 50 euros I went to like 200 euros, and then it was like I was like, but will they buy my itineraries if my guidebook is the same, but this is only like, I don't know, 10 euros or something? And they started to buy the guidebooks, and they still were buying the itineraries. And I was like, wow. And then pandemic hit.
Wow, great.
But
you know what? For the best.
I look for the best, because yesterday I got an email from someone who is like 60 years old, and they already are having their first vaccination next week. And they said that on August, September, or October, they would like to go to Sri Lanka again. So they want me to prepare the itinerary for them. So I'm like, is it coming back? I wanted to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so happy that it's happening again. So yeah.
Wow. That's nice. And how old were you when you made this decision of becoming a freelancer and start the blog?
In fact, I was pretty old comparing to what are people doing now. Yeah, because it came to me that I can be a freelancer and live from my blog only when I was 28. So I was traveling in Asia, and it just came to me by mistake, because before I was living out of my blog, I was a freelancer, but more like I was based in Poland, because I was a tour leader, and I I just had stuff like life, normal life there, and I was still not in this mode that I can go to Asia alone with one-way ticket and stay there 1.5 years, right? So when I left, I realized that I can do it. But when I compared myself that time when I was 20 years old and I was traveling in Asia with the people who I met there, and they were like 21, 22, some of them 19, I was like, wow, I hope they will not start calling me grandma or something. Because I was honestly the oldest one there. And I was like, wow, that's weird.
But it's just a number.
It's just a number, seriously.
Yeah, what matters is the spirit, and you have a very young spirit. And how did your family and friends, they supported that choice of becoming a freelancer and
I think, my parents were supporting me much more later, because at the beginning, of course, they were like, what are you going to do there? You're going to be killed or something. They're going to rob you or something worse, you know? And I was like, why are you thinking like that? Like, this is, if in Poland nothing happens to me, why it should happen somewhere else, you know? Like, I'm smart. I know how not to get into troubles. And they were, at the beginning, they were like, no, don't go there. So I learned that I shouldn't tell them early. I were telling them, for example, like 5 days. When I was going first time to Sri Lanka, I was 24 years old. And I told them like week before that I just put them on a couch and I said like, look, I have to tell you something. I'm going to Sri Lanka next week. And they're like, oh, but you're going with your partner. And I was like, no. And they're like, you're gonna be killed, you're gonna be raped, you're gonna be robbed, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, I knew that. Okay, I'm going already. I have everything prepared. I'm going. Or maybe it was even like 3 days before I left, something like that, you know. But then they realized that they will not stop me, and I'm just doing what I'm doing, and I'm getting much more and more successful in what I'm doing. So I got support from them, and that's it. But my friends, it was much longer and much more difficult story, because I was blogging already for a while. I got a lot of friends who were also in the same topic, and for them the priority was to buy the plane ticket. So they understood my need of travels. But my friends, like the friends from my hometown, we don't stay in touch anymore, because we just had different paths, and they didn't understand that people have different like
lifestyles.
Yeah, lifestyle, you know, and
different goals and different.
But when I moved them out from my life, there were another people who fill in this spot, you know. So that's awesome. We should never stuck to people who drag us down. But
that is also very true. So your first solo trip was in 2014. You said it in Sri Lanka. You went to Sri Lanka. We met at this same year. What was the first thing that attracted to this country? Why Sri Lanka?
You know what? It was by accident somehow, because one of my friends was working there, and I said that if I'm going somewhere out of Europe, because before that, in 2012, I was also traveling alone from Milan to Marseille. So I was like 10 or 11 days alone, but in fact, I met other people who were traveling the same way. So, and then in Sri Lanka, there was my friend working already. And I said like, wow, if there is a friend of mine and something happens, there is someone who will have my back. And nothing happened, of course. But after I came there, I was like, wow, this country is so awesome. I need to come back here. And then I was coming back like 5 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was the experience? Everything went okay? Do you have some shock when you arrived? Because, well, it's Asia. It's very, very different.
You know, when I was later in Asia in 2016, and I was just like, after a year, when something happened completely surprisingly to you, in surprising way, you were just saying like, okay, it's Asia. It's Asia. It's Asia, like a synonym of something completely unpredictable, you know. But in Sri Lanka, Well, I had to learn a lot because that was my first solo trip already to outside Europe. And I've never been outside Europe except Israel before. So, yeah, I had to learn that people can scam you. And I learned how I was scammed like 5 times. I remember my first trip on a tuk-tuk. Like I just came there. It was my first day in Colombo. And there was some guy in the park. And I was just walking around the park. And he said, like, I'm going to show you around because I'm a gardener here. So he was like, for an hour, he was showing me all the plants and everything, like everything. And then he was like, look at this one. And this one is moving when you touch it. And this one has like horns or something, you know. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Thank you so much. Bye. And he was like, but it's $10.
Of course. Yeah.
What?
Well,
why? And then I was like, no. But I didn't give him $10. I think I gave him like $1 or something like that. Yeah. But that was like, people scam you. Oh my God, this is so shocking. Or like, for example, I had the biggest food poisoning in my life ever. And one day before, I was climbing a mountain. And it was like 5,000 stairs because for some reason they built stairs to the top of the mountain. And then the next day I got the food poisoning and I couldn't move because all my muscles were not used to climb 5,000 stairs, right? So I remember I called my mom and I said like, Mom, I think I'm dying. And she said like, you're stupid. Go to the pharmacy. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And I remember I couldn't seriously move. So I was like, I was crawling to the toilet, you know, every time I was like on my bed, like Voldemort. And then I was crawling to the floor and I was like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But that's good memories, you know.
Yeah, you learn by doing it. You have to
and
go
then
there
I never
and
again
do mistakes and try to not do it again. And
that's true. You just learn by experiences.
But it's also a very good feeling, that type of learning. I think.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think it was in July 2016 that you got your one-way ticket to Asia, and I think you had like $1,000 in your pocket. I did my research.
Yes.
So
I had
an impulse trip, or was it something that you had been planned for a while?
I was completely like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like half of my life, it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's do it before we change our mind, you know? So I just went to Asia. I went to Sri Lanka and I started, because I had $1,000 in my pocket, but then I was also going with a tour to Sri Lanka. So from that, let's say I had another 1,000.
Okay.
But going with them, I had only $1,000, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And even if I have $1,000 later, you cannot live that much with $2,000, especially when you're traveling. So everywhere I was going, I was working in hostels so I was just sleeping there, staying there. Sometimes I also had breakfast. But usually it was like nothing extra money, nothing extra food. So that moment I realized that if I want to have more money for traveling, I need to just freelance. So at the same time, I think in November, I also had like an email from one company that it was a publishing house, and they asked me to write for them a guidebook about Sri Lanka. And it was a good money for like 2, maybe 3 months, but nothing more. And then I came to Vietnam, but it was like that. I came to Sri Lanka first for 2 months. Then I came to the Philippines for 2 months also. And then Malaysia, 2 months. And Singapore, also 2 weeks in Laos and 2 weeks in Nepal. And because in the Philippines, there was like a conference for bloggers, and it's called TBEX, International Travel Bloggers Exchange. That's called. This is the name. And I took part in it, and there was a company who invited me to go with them to Nepal. So after Laos, I went with them for 2 weeks to Nepal, and after Nepal, I came to Vietnam because the Vietnam was the cheapest, and I was like out of money. And then in Vietnam, I went to I stayed 2 weeks in Saigon, And in Saigon, I met a friend from Poland, and she said, like, what are you doing in the city? Go to the beach. There is a muine, and you can surf there and everything. So I was like, whatever, I'm going to the beach. And then I will think about my life. And I went to the beach, and I met such an awesome group of people there. With at least like half of them, I stay in contact, and it was like 18 people who were working there. And with two of those friends, with Emma from Canada and Aaron from Ireland, we rented a flat in Vietnam where I stayed for a year.
Wow.
So it was like, you just don't know what you're doing, but then you have the best experiences in your life, you know?
Yeah, because sometimes when you don't have a strict plan, then it gives you opportunity to
you're
be
flexible and you just follow the universe, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So out of all the trips that you've done, is there any place that you regret going or that maybe you didn't enjoy so much, or all of them have been good in a way?
Well, every country has some good and bad stuff, of course. But for example, I didn't enjoy Malaysia that much. I mean, I enjoyed it for food, and for food, I would come back there seriously. But I would stay there for a week, and I would just only eat. But also, I didn't spend enough time. I mean, I didn't use my time properly when I was in Singapore, and I didn't see some places that later I was reading. And this is the thing that I learned, that first, when I go somewhere, I need to do the research, because later I leave and I don't know what I missed. And then I'm reading and I was like, oh, stupid Hanna, why you didn't do the research earlier, right? And in fact, also I had like this with Vietnam, because it took me like 3 months to start liking Vietnam. And at the end of the day, I fell in love with it. So, yeah. But also, I think like I spent 1.5 years in Granada, but I didn't use my time properly. It's like, I don't know, maybe this is just, I shouldn't be like angry at myself for that, because this is just me. And I'm just never using my time properly, because there was a different stuff going on, you know. And but yeah, I would like to come back and just write about it, because I didn't write about Granada for a year now because of the pandemic, and I just didn't have mood for that. But yeah, I would love to come back and write about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after Asia, then you went to Granada in Spain, right?
Yeah, I came back to Poland for 6 months, but I knew that it's not the time for me to be in Poland yet. So after some time, I said, like, I'm going to spend in Poland only 6 months, and then I go somewhere. And I was thinking that, or I'm going to EVS, because I was already talking with Eliza about that, or I'm going to Albania, because Albania is cheap and it's still in Europe. And after being in Asia, I didn't want to go to so far again, because I missed the funeral of my grandfather, and I missed some Eastern and Christmases, and I was like, I need time in Europe now. And then I had this opportunity that I can go to Granada. And the funny fact is that I was never interested in Spain, but I always wanted to go to Granada because I was always interested in the Arabic culture. So this Alhambra and everything, I was like, I need to go there. This is such an amazing place. And then they are like, Hanna, we have EVS for you. You can go to Finland for winter, or you can go to Granada. And I was like, well, so I went to Granada.
Yeah. So, and about, you were doing EVS, so you were, as a volunteer, you were basically doing in Spain what me and Mother were doing in Poland. And I know with EVS it's tricky sometimes, because sometimes the projects are not everything that we expected, or the accommodation, or the people, or whatever. But I think even when it's bad, there's always something that you learn. Do you feel that?
Yeah, well, I met there one of my best friends in my life, you know, a guy from Turkey, and we had just such a good flow. Every evening we were watching series together, or we were like, I don't know, midnight, and we were going to, I don't know, explore the city or something. I just had such a good flow with him. And in general, you know, I fell in love with Granada, because this city is just so beautiful, and the mountains behind Alhambra, and it's like, wow. Yeah, but like the funny thing is that the project, you know, at the beginning, our organization told us that they don't even have that much work for one volunteer, and not and what about the three of us? And I'm like, okay. And yeah, we were just, I don't know, we were just doing nothing there. So we were just enjoying our time in Granada, which is cool, right?
Yeah. It's still an experience.
Yeah, it is. Always you have to find stuff that you can get out of it, like the good stuff that is there, because there's always some good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Nothing is bad, in fact, in our life, but it depends on the perspective, how you look at it.
Yeah. And with EVS, it helps because if you don't have that much work, then you have free time, but also you don't have to worry about accommodation and food because those expenses are covered. So you can actually enjoy without that worry. So I think you can make the best of it in the situation. And so at the moment you are back in Poland, but you are in Poznan, so you're not in your town.
Yeah, I'm in Poznan. Mm-hmm.
But once the pandemic is over at some point, I'm sure that you want to travel, but do you want to travel just for like a couple of weeks, or you are moving somewhere again?
In fact, I have already plans for like next 20 years, but whatever. But no, that's funny. In fact, I have only a plan for like the autumn, because for sure I will not leave Poland before I get vaccine, because I know that this will be like a document that you need to go somewhere without quarantine or problems or whatever, right? So I think that I will stay in Poland until mid-June, July, if it goes well. And then at the beginning of August, I would like to go to Malta, because I have a friend there from Vietnam. He's from Malta, and he said like, hey, if you are tired of Poland, come, I have a house by the seaside. And I'm like, oh, well, you have to invite me twice, you know. So I think I will just go there, and then I will figure out what I want to do with my life next.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
I hope that you know the stuff I was doing the itineraries for people about Sri Lanka and Vietnam can come back, because this is the biggest like income for me to be a freelancer again. And just, you know, the main idea about life for me is that you can live wherever you want.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do with my life. So being stuck in Poland is already a bit depressing.
I think maybe your business will even grow, because I think people after this, everyone wants to travel. Even people that didn't want to travel before, now they want to travel.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me just ask you, do you do itineraries still just for Sri Lanka, or are you looking into expanding to other places?
For sure I want to do about Vietnam again. And I don't know if I want to have more countries about like, because, you know, Sri Lanka and Vietnam are mostly for winter. So my winter is like super busy time. And then I think I would rather write guidebooks. Like, for example, I would love to write a guidebook about Andalusia and just leave it on my blog, because I am pretty good in understanding the, what's the English word for it? SEO. Like the how your website is in Google, how high it is, because this is some kind of technical stuff that you need to put in your text and everything. And I was always pretty good in that. And then if you understand how it works, you don't have to actively promote your stuff. So for example, with Sri Lanka, it was like that I was just doing the itineraries, but people could find me in Google and they were buying my guidebooks. So the same I want to do with for sure Andalusia, and maybe some other summer country that I can just leave there in my blog and people will buy it.
Yeah. Sounds good.
That's the plan.
Sounds very, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, and can we talk a little bit about relationships now?
Sure.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
So
sure.
you got married quite young, and eventually the relationship didn't work.
Yes.
Being Poland, still a very traditional country, how was it hard for your family and friends to accept the divorce, or even for you?
It was very difficult for me to tell them that I want to get divorced, because, you know, at some point my now ex-husband told me like, why are you traveling so much? Maybe you can find another job that will be more here. And I'm like, wow, I told you on a first date that I want to travel.
Let me just tell you, I remember once at a party in our house,
I know what you remember. I know what you remember.
There were probably some drinks involved, but you and your ex-husband you reenacted your proposal in our living room. And I remember that you said that before you said yes, you said, but I want to continue travel. That's the only way I'm going to say yes. So I remember that.
Yes. So I said yes because he said that it's an awesome idea. But then he said like, okay, the idea is over now. Get stuck here. And I was like, oh, all right.
Nope.
I think we're getting divorced then. But it was very difficult for me because I knew that my family will not accept it that easily. And that time I was still not very assertive. That was just the moment when I was turning from law to tourism, you know. So I didn't tell them that I'm changing the studies, and now I have to tell them that I want to get divorced. This is like, you know, uncomparable.
A lot of stuff, yeah.
Wow. So, but yeah, I told them, and of course it was very difficult because they told me that you just wanted to play house. And I was like, oh, thank you for the support. But I had an anchor, like a friend of mine was my anchor, and he was always telling me like, do what your heart is telling you. Mm-hmm. Don't get stuck in stuff that doesn't make you happy. Even if it's super difficult, it's like you have to or hurt someone to be happy, or you will hurt yourself, but the others will be happy. And you have only one life, so which one do you choose? And I was like, okay. And then I said, like, I told already everyone that I'm going to Asia, and I still didn't get my papers for the divorce because, of course, you know, the process in the court is like, wow, super long. And it was already April, and I put it like in November or something. So it was already April, and I wanted to get out of here for like July, August. And I went to the court and I said like, hey, when is the thing? I want to get divorced. And they said like, oh, probably in September. And I was like, no, I don't want to be here. and my lawyer told me like, you have to get the papers from your ex-husband, and he needs to put the signature that he wants the divorce, okay, like quickly, because everything is set up between us. And I had the same. And when I put it in the court, they after 1 month they called us and they told us that come to the court because we're gonna give you this divorce. And it took us like 7 minutes or something.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but the family was like, okay, do whatever you want. And then I realized that I need to get out of Poland and as far as possible from my family, because this is, you know, I didn't hear my own voice because they always knew better what is the best for me. And at some point I was like, this is stupid. Like, this is not my life, you know? So when I went to Asia, I realized that everything what I'm doing now, it's only me, and nobody will tell me what to do now. So
yeah,
that was the best lesson in my life, I guess.
Yeah, girl power. Yeah. I remember when we were in Poland and we went to the schools and talk about cultural difference, and the teenagers often told us that if you are not married by 26, you should start to worry and stuff like this. Did you feel this pressure as a young girl growing up? Like, I have to get married and...
Yeah, because you know what? In fact, there was not a lot of people in my surrounding, in my environment, who would have different life. So it was very difficult to imagine how you can live differently if everybody is following the same path. But at some point I was saying like, well, if you are staying in the same lifestyle of other people, how can you have different experiences, right? But when I moved to Asia, it's like, well, it was like that. I thought that I am the only person in the world who has this kind of problems, you know? And then I met every single person who has exactly the same problems. And I was like, oh, this is the paradise of people with problems.
Yeah, because sometimes you just need to find like our people. The people that
like they exist there, you know, they exist. But if you stay with the same people who doesn't make you happy, it's like you will never find the other people.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
So still in the like relationships topic, you shared at some point you got caught up in a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
And this was something that you decided to talk about in your blog in hopes that it will help other people who might be in a similar situation. So what can you tell us a little bit about that, and also why you decided to tell your story and how that experience in all has been?
So the toxic relationship story happens in Spain. It was after I finished my EVS. I already moved in with this guy because it was like I met him at the beginning of my EVS. So for all the 8 months, we were just dating and talking like every day. And then we moved in. And then I realized, well, at the beginning, I was thinking that something is wrong here. But this is like this kind of abusive relationship when someone is first putting you completely down, and then he's like bombing you with love, you know, and then you have no idea what's happening. And when you have so much love at some point, you think that, okay, that putting down thing was just like I don't know, one incident, right? It will not happen again, and then it's happening again. And it was like at some point I realized that I am losing myself to save a relationship that is not making me happy. And this guy was abusive in any kind of way you can think, like in physical way, in a psychological, in mental way, like he was calling me names and other stuff. And then the funny thing is that he didn't have a job, so I was paying for all the living. And I was like, Hanna, what are you doing? At some point, and then pandemic hit. So when I wanted already to get out of it, I was stuck with him for next 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And at some point, when I was just waiting when Spain will start the flight connections with Poland again. And when it started, I bought the second day ticket because the first day was like 200 euros. And I was like, wow, everybody wants to go back to Poland, so that's probably that expensive. But yeah, the second day, I just got the plane from Madrid. And what I can say is that at some point I was thinking that it was very stupid experience, but now I'm thinking that it was one of the best experiences in my life I had, because I realized a lot of things about myself. For example, this thing about not being assertive came from like I realized it now in this relationship, because when I finished it, when I came back to Poland, I wanted to think deeper about myself. What happened that I got stuck in it, and how I
And change that.
Yeah, how I can change that, how I can be more myself, so it will never happen again, you know. And I started like digging in my past and all my everything that hurts me inside, because everybody has some kind of demons inside that hurts them. And I realized a lot of things, that almost every of my relationship was that I was more giving than taking, or like a lot of ideas like that, you know. And then first of all, I thought that never again I'm gonna settle down for a guy if he doesn't want to travel with me, because that was like also with this, because I was all the time telling that, hey, let's go to see Andalusia because I want to write this guidebook and everything, and he was like, yeah, you just want to talk with other Spanish guys, because he was super jealous, you know. Oh, and this is also the thing that I learned, that if someone is like jealous, like completely out of his mind, because I was thinking that there are things that are not happening in real life, but they are happening in his head. And it was like super, first of all, very low self-confidence of him. Even if you look at a person, you think that he is a self-confident person, but he was super insecure person. That's why he was trying to completely like put me out of my friends and my family, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, why you don't want me to see my friends and my family? And it's like, wow, whatever. And
because if you're isolated, then it's easier. If he isolates you from all your friends and family, then it's easier to manipulate.
To control, to manipulate and to control. And so first of all, I learned that jealousy is a sign of a big insecurity. And never again, now I have this thing that when I see somebody is like even telling jokes about being jealous, I'm already like, wow, go away. I don't want to have anything in common with you.
Red flag.
Yeah, red flag. I have like everybody is a red flag right now, you know. But in fact, it's good because what I did after that is that I said I need to remind myself how my life looked like before this relationship, before I was isolated from him and I didn't travel for a while. And what I did is that I put my backpack, I packed my backpack, and I walked 400 kilometers of the Polish coastline for a month alone in the dark woods sometimes. And it was like winter is coming, you know. But it was one of the best experiences also in my life. And wow, so refreshing. And I felt like the world is mine. I can be myself again.
Yeah. And did you manage to understand by yourself that you were in a toxic relationship, or did people around you had to show you? Because for some people it works different in different ways.
Yeah, I think I managed to see that. However, I was kind of putting away this thought because of course there were things that I was attracted to in this guy. So my mind was like, no, this is just bullshit. Just try to focus on the positive stuff. And this was very bad thinking, but I didn't know it that time. And then one of my friends told me to start listening to a podcast of a Polish girl who is always telling about relationships. And she was calling the guys in those relationships, like, for example, type crocodile. Type crocodile is a person who has very small hands to work and a very big mouth to feed. And I was like, he is the type crocodile. And after like 10 episodes, I was like, I need to get out of it because I'm losing myself and I'm losing my life and I'm losing my money. What the heck?
Yeah, so there's no win in that situation.
Yeah, so and then pandemic came. So, but yeah, I started to realize that, but then my friend helped me to realize
little things help. Yeah, because I think there's this common misconception that only like weak or fragile people can get caught up in these relationships.
Definitely
and we
not.
know you and you're neither of those. But it can happen to everyone because you don't see it coming sometimes until you are very deep into the situation.
Yes, that's true. And it depends, you know, because for example, this guy has a very he told me he had a very strong character. His mother was a very strong character. So I think he's looking for women who are very strong so they can take care of him. And it started like this, you know, but this is like only my thinking because we always look for something that is familiar for us from our families, in our partners, you know. So yeah, that was something like that, I guess. But you know what? What I wanted to say also, when I wanted to say something when you said that. No, this was what I wanted to say. That some people are strong, and we think that they are strong, and nothing bad will happen to them. But this is not true because bad things happen to everyone.
Yeah.
Depends how you deal with it, you know.
Yeah, and that I think is also why it's so important to. I imagine that it's very hard, but why it's important to talk about these situations because then more people can be aware of. Okay, maybe this sign or this sign, maybe paying attention and also not feel, because I think some people might feel guilty that, oh, I let myself into this situation, and it's not true. It's not their fault. So I think if we talk about it, then hopefully people understand that they can feel empowered, like you were saying, from this experience and not feel.
You know what? I also think that a lot of people don't talk about it because they feel like they will be stigmatized in the society, that they will tell them like, why you were so stupid to be with this person, you know. And this is not about being stupid. This is about being manipulated, completely manipulated, and you have no idea what is happening. Like, I remember once there was a situation when we had an argument and he started to blame me on stuff, and I was so twisted in my mind that I thought seriously that I said something that I didn't say really, and I was thinking like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm thinking completely wrong, maybe he is right. And you are so manipulated by this person that you have no idea what is right and what is wrong and what's true and what is false. And you start thinking that maybe there are things in your head too.
You start doubting yourself.
Yeah, you doubt yourself almost all the time. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, it must, I don't know if it's easy or not to speak about this. Why did you decide to put this on the blog? To help others or just to, I don't know, take a weight of your back, you know, just it's here, my story.
I think both. I can say that I think both, because I realized at some point that it was very difficult for me to get out of it, but I found a way. So maybe if I share it, some other girls will have it too as a kind of sign that something is wrong. And that's true. A lot of like on Instagram, for example, a lot of girls wrote me that they were also in a toxic relationship. Some of them were for 17 years. And I was like, wow. So I congratulate you that you get out of it, because for me it was only a year. And it was very quickly when I get out of it. But some people, it was like 17 or 20 years. Some other girl also wrote me. And for example, she said that she thinks that this is an abusive relationship, but she doesn't want to get out of it because her partner, her husband, has a kind of prestigious role in a society. So for her, it's like being a better person. And I was like, wow, this is a dipshit.
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
Yeah, you're already so deep. Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, I was like, if you can help someone, just you cannot force. Oh, this is also what I learned about myself, that I like helping people. And for sometimes I'm trying to help them even if they don't want this help. I think it was also here in this relationship, because I saw that he's so insecure and so kind of unhappy and depressed person. And I was like, come on, life can be better. Life can be amazing things. And I'm going to show you how to live life, And he was like, I don't want to. I was like, how, And this is the thing that I learned about myself, that sometimes I have to like say, okay, Hanna, stop. You cannot do anything. This is their life. If they don't want to get better, they will not get better. And and I this was like, I'm just gonna put the story there and do my stuff, And also there was a third reason. And okay, the first one was that I'm gonna put the story there. I'm gonna, just not forcing anyone, but if they want, they will read it, and maybe they will get something from it to themselves. The second reason was that I wanted to get out of this ballast and put it there. And I was thinking that if I speak about that, it will not affect only me, kind of. And I think it was kind of therapeutical stuff.
Yeah.
It helped a bit. But later, it was like an anger stage. So I was like, I'm going to talk about it. But now, for example, I'm more in a maybe not regret, but sad stage. And I'm thinking like, now I would not talk about it. If I was waiting this couple of months, this moment, I would not talk about it. And the third reason was that I wanted to remind myself this life. So I decided to walk this Baltic coast, and then I needed money. So I put, this is honest. I'm honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, from you, we're going to get honest.
Yeah. So I needed money to just, finance this idea to walk this coastline. And I put a book, an ebook on my blog. And some people bought it, and then I could walk my coastline. So
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how can we all as a society contribute to prevent this type of situations?
Well,
what do you think?
First of all, I think we will never stop it. It will always happen. But what we can do is that we can show support to people who were in this kind of situation. Because especially men, because also men can be in an abusive relationship.
Absolutely.
But there is this stereotype in society that man can be strong, has to be strong, and he cannot show any weakness, So if a guy is in a relationship like that, cannot say to anyone that the girl is like, what, beating me? Yeah. This sounds like everybody will turn like, or call him whatever, and I think what we have to do is never judge a person. It's like, they are not stupid. They were just in a bad time with a bad person, and they were completely manipulated. And they, in fact, they were just very good person, because a lot of people who are in this kind of abusive relationship, like all of them, I guess, has very soft hearts. And at some point, they think that they can help this person, but it will never happen, So also, don't force this person to leave the relationship. But like, for example, my friend, she showed me what was wrong, and I realized it on my own. And this is the most important, to make those people realize it on their own. Because if you forcefully get out this person of this relationship, they will come back. Yeah. Because this is not the stage that they understand that this is hurting them.
Yeah, and if you're forcing, then you're kind of being abusive too, because you're still not giving people the power to make that choice.
Exactly. Yeah. But always show support. And for example, if there is, I don't know, if someone will tell you like, hey, I need to get out of here, but I have no place to sleep, organize something. Help them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to plug in my charger and it's dying. I'm going to get my charger.
Go, kid, go. Wow.
Yeah, but sometimes I'm thinking like, wow, what a crazy story happened to me. But I don't want to regret it, because every experience makes us stronger, you know? If you look at it from this perspective, it always makes you stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think you putting your word up there kind of, you know, you are sharing your story, so other people saying like, okay, this happens to other persons, and she get out and she's fine now and very happy. So I think it was a really good.
In fact, you know, that's the thing. All the people who told me that they were also in this kind of relationship, they said that after this relationship, their life is much, much better, because they realized a lot of stuff and they see what they didn't see before. So this is not what they want. So now they can really build amazing relationships, you know, and have awesome life. And this is something like, there is better life after that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And everybody does mistakes. It's okay. The thing is getting out and don't repeat the same mistakes.
That's true. Because if you repeat that, that means that you didn't learn anything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Exactly. Okay, we are almost done with the questions, but we still have a few more. Having traveled so much, what do you usually miss when you are not in Poland?
Pierogi.
What?
Pierogi.
Yes.
I am a pierogi girl, you know, like.
Of course. Oh, I miss those.
Yeah.
That's a good
I miss pierogi. I miss, you know, no, when I'm traveling so long, there are the moments when I'm seriously miss Poland. Like I miss how green it is, or how I miss how the landscape, the culture, I don't know, Christmas carols before Christmas, you know, it's like this tiny stuff that makes Poland Poland. But then I came back, and after a couple of months, I'm like, what am I doing here? Get me out of here. But it's good to
go back and go somewhere else.
Yeah,
it's good when you travel. Obviously, depends. Not everyone loves to travel, but what I think it's good that when you travel, then sometimes when you come back home, you also enjoy more the little things that maybe if you were always there, you wouldn't enjoy. But if you come back,
I think it is like that. That every time I come back, I appreciate it more, and then I'm like, okay, enough. I need to go out and then come back and appreciate it again.
Yeah. I really like that too.
Yeah.
Good.
So.
We always ask our guests to leave a question for the next guest. So we're going to give you now a question that it's not from us, it's from someone else.
Okay.
And the question is, if you could spend an hour talking to anyone in the world, who would it be and what would you like to talk about?
If I could spend an hour talking with someone anywhere in the world, right?
Anyone. Who would it be? What would you talk about?
I think it would be Bob Dylan.
Nice.
Good choice.
Yeah, and I would talk with him about the most important experiences in his life.
Oh, nice. I like that answer. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So another regular question here in our podcast, or whatever this is. It's related to our name, that is Especialmente Normal, that can translate for something like specially normal. So what do you consider especially normal? Something that is normal but very special for you?
Conversations, you know. I think this is like the most, because I am a person who put a lot of attention into communication with people. And I think conversation, but like open conversation, when you are not like, for example, when you have this feeling that you can open up yourself and just talk because nobody will judge you, and you can just get out everything what you think and what you believe in. I think this is kind of thing that I would call especially normal. But because we all conversate, you know, but sometimes we just don't put attention to it and we don't put any effort. But yeah, like conversation, this is something that I really like, because this is how you meet, how you know people, you know, get to know people.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's very surprising. Sometimes a person that maybe you didn't think you have a lot in common, when you actually start talking, then you find a common ground.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Exactly.
Good. So now for the last one. What question does no one ever ask you and you wish someone would? Is there any question?
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I had a question that I would like someone to ask me. Like, I don't think like that. Do you want to go for a round the world trip? Like this kind of question, maybe. But
whatever you want. Yeah. Can do whatever you want.
I don't know. I don't think I have a question like that in my mind that I would like. It's like, that's maybe because I have a lot of conversations with those people that I was traveling with, and they were like, I remember one of the questions that once one of my friends asked me a few years ago was that simple, are you happy? And that was the moment when I said like, yeah, I am happy. And I really felt that time, you know, and this is awesome.
I think that's a good one. That's a good question, yeah. Because
we don't ask each other this too often, you know? Exactly.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we don't even ask ourselves that.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's very true.
Yeah. Good. So Hanna, thank you very much for speaking. It was very good to see you again, even if from a screen.
Thank you very much for having me. And I hope we can see each other very soon in real life, you know?
Yeah, it's been too long.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
And eat pierogies.
Yeah, and the best pierogi to Mozambique.
You were trying, I make them at home sometimes, but it's not the same.
It's never the same, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, so
thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
And see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Yeah.